Fast X, the 10th film inside the Fast and Furious franchise, and this is so weird. This is such a weird franchise. Like, if someone saw Fast X, right, as their first Fast and Furious movie, and then they go and say, hey, I kind of like this film. Let me check this first. Let me go through the franchise. And they go, what's that first one? It's a 9-day difference, guys. In that first film, there's, mechanics. They're doing selling DVD players, and they're doing street racing and all of that. Meanwhile, in Fast X, or like in 7, 8, and 9 and 10, they're the greatest spies in the world. And you're like, how the fuck did this come about? And also, you're thinking like the breaking the laws of physics. Yeah, the franchise is known for that. It didn't before. Probably the laws of like speed, probably, or like dramatization of what actually happens in the real world of street racing versus what happens in a movie context to bring it, a sense of interest towards it. And it's just so weird. So weird talking about anytime you think about Fast and Furious, you're like thinking how a 9-day difference this franchise is. But this film is marketed as part 1 of beginning of the end of the road. That Fast 11 or Fast 12 will be the end of the franchise. And honestly, sorry, I mean, I'm looking at the budget of this film. $340 million. And probably a good $100 million of that movie, of this budget, is to the actors, because the actors, their agents and managers are all like, you want them in the sequel? You had to up those prices, you had to up their salaries. So that's what you have. And so I'm like, you have to wrap it. You have to like end the story, end the franchise in a satisfying way for that franchise, for this type of audience. And this, here you go, it is known as the 8th most expensive movie ever made. The 8th most expensive movie ever made. It's crazy. But, and I mentioned 2 or 3 because Vin Diesel said in a comment that Universal wants the finale be a 3-part versus a 2-part as it was originally planned. But I feel like looking at the box office track record addictions, knowing it's tracked to make $30 million less than the previous film with Fast 9, I think we'll get part 2. We'll get Fast 11, and that's it. But as a wrap up of the franchise, if you've been around with this franchise since day one, and you've been a fan of these characters, and you're a fan of Dom and Lily and Letty and Mia and Ramsey and all these characters, this is a good retrospective movie. Even though, and people will roll the eyes in the back of their head because everybody will say, what do you expect? It's a Fast and Furious movie. Are you looking for Shakespeare? It's like, no. But the dialogue in this movie is atrocious. The dialogue in this film is atrocious because it's all like one-line tough guy model, lines where it's like, you never saw me coming. You have Jason Momoa, who's just great in this film. He's chewing the scene where you can tell he's having a ball playing this character, but he's saying the most 101 villain cliche lines ever, and you're just like, it's Fast and Furious. It's Fast and Furious, baby. It's what it is. You just want to hear the word family for 40 times. I mean, the plot is that it's you got Jason Momoa's character who's the villain. You got Dante, and he's linked to Fast 5 with the bank heist, and he's setting vengeance, and he wants to hurt where it really hurts for Dom, and that is his family, and so he's hunting down the family, and that's literally the plot. I mean, it's literally race against the clock, race against the clock. You have all these subplots. I mean, the Dom story is like the main one to focus with, because all the other plot lines with the side characters, with Letty and Cypher, that's kind of setting up for part 2. That's setting up for 11, for Fast 11. And that's what it is. It's, I mean, you have fun action sequences. There's a fun action sequence after a fun action sequence after a fun action sequence with a fist fight, which I won't lie, when it comes to the fights themselves, they do fall a little bit too quick cut for my taste. But even with something like, you got this like meaningless fight. This is like the only action sequence in this entire movie that I went like, really? This feels a little bit meaningless. Like, you just had like a car chase. Why you need a fight scene right here? And that is between Letty and Cypher, because they're, story points, and they're like, oh, how long do we have to wait for? Oh, 4 minutes, and they just fight for 4 minutes. And I'm like, this is meaningless. This is like, just do the thing. Just do the thing that they're set to do. It just felt a little bit, meaningless with that action sequence. But the majority of them are really well, choreographed. And even the car scenes, like most times I was really glued to the action sequences were when they were in the cars. That's when I was like, okay, I'm in there, I'm watching it, I'm glued to it. What's going on and all that. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's Fast and Furious, right? And that's what you have. You're not really looking much. It's just like, how much ridiculous can you handle? How much of ridiculous can you now handle now? Because like, if I go to Rotten Tomatoes, 56 of the critics, nearly 5 out of, if you had 10 people in the room, half of it would actually like the movie, half of it wouldn't recommend it. Kind of shows that, hey, maybe the steam, pun not intended, of this franchise being so ridiculous, it has worn out. But it's self-aware, they self-aware of the concept of family getting talked 6 billion times. They talk about the laws of physics and how it all started and how weird it is that, they're the greatest spies in the world, but they're just of mechanics and criminals. It's just so, it is that weird thing. And I will say my audience had a crack. I mean, literally, the people were cheering. I was like, this is weird. Because in this way, we kind of just keep things quiet. No Way Home was kind of the exception that I experienced. But in my theater, people went, woo, won, cheered and laughed at certain moments and when certain people came up and all that. So, yeah, I mean, I think if you started this franchise with this movie, honestly, you're gonna miss the nuance, honestly. But, honestly, all I know is like, yeah, this is a franchise that is, I think it's time to wrap it up, and wrap its story up, and that, is Jason Momoa the best villain of this franchise? Yeah, I might say that, or at least the second best. Brie Larson is a wonderful addition to the franchise, even though her character is the, I'm just here so you guys know I'm going to play a more important role in the sequel. I'm going to play an important role in the sequel. So she's playing that type of character. And you got Alan, Whitson, Raphael from the Nintendo's movies, and he was Hawk and Titans and Aquaman and Smallville, and he's Jack Reacher. He's great. He's great as this like military no shit type of character. It's good. It's good as a Fast and Furious film, and this is a franchise I don't really look back on much. The soundtrack, the thing about the Fast and Furious films, like I'm not crazy about like the certain soundtrack, but that's what I quite liked. I quite liked the songs in this certain film. So anyway, comment below, what do you think of this film? If you are a fan of the franchise, if you're a fan or not, are you ready to fasten your seatbelts for the big finale in a couple of years? I'm so clever with the puns. Not really. Anyway.